What if I told you that one simple breakfast choice could trigger measurable gains in muscle strength, not over weeks or months, but within just 24 hours? That it could flip a biological switch inside your muscle cells, protecting you from one of the most devastating effects of aging sarcopenia, or age-related muscle loss. After 60, this silent breakdown begins to accelerate. We lose roughly 1% of our muscle mass each year, and even more alarming, we lose up to 3% of our strength annually. That is not just about looking fit or toned. It is about the ability to stand up from a chair, carry groceries, climb stairs, and live independently. Sarcopenia does not just weaken muscles, it weakens life itself. Here is the remarkable part. Scientists have now uncovered that certain nutrients, when consumed at the right time and in the right combination, can reverse this process almost immediately. These compounds do not just feed muscle, they signal it. They activate pathways in the body that literally tell your cells to repair, rebuild, and regenerate. Here is what is happening at the cellular level. Inside every muscle fiber, there are mitochondria, the small power plants that create energy. As we age, these mitochondria lose efficiency, producing less adenosine triphosphate, the molecule that powers every contraction, every movement, every heartbeat. They also begin leaking reactive oxygen species, which accelerate cellular aging. But the right breakfast rich in amino acids like leucine, key micronutrients such as vitamin D, magnesium, and omega-3 fatty acids can turn that decline around. Research from the University of Birmingham and other metabolic aging centers has shown that when older adults consume a high-quality protein source at breakfast, especially one rich in leucine and omega-3 fats, their muscle protein synthesis rate, the rate at which muscle is repaired and built, can increase by up to 60% within 24 hours. That is extraordinary. It means that your first meal of the day can literally set the tone for how your body builds or loses muscle over the next full day. This is why breakfast matters more after 60 than it did at any other stage of life. It is not just about calories or convenience. It is about activating the biological machinery that keeps you mobile, strong, and independent. So, in this episode, we are going to unpack the science of how to design a breakfast that fights sarcopenia, boosts mitochondrial function, and enhances leg strength, all using evidence-based nutrition and lifestyle strategies. We will explore the 6 key mechanisms behind this process, from protein timing and amino acid activation to micronutrients that rejuvenate muscle mitochondria, and even the role of circadian rhythm in muscle repair. If you are someone who wants to stay strong, energized, and biologically young, this next half hour might just redefine how you see your morning meal. Let us start with one of the most overlooked reasons older adults lose strength even when they are eating what seems like a healthy diet: anabolic resistance. Anabolic resistance is the gradual decline in your muscle's ability to respond to dietary protein. Imagine for a moment that your muscle cells are like factories waiting for building materials. In your 20s or 30s, those factories open their gates wide as soon as you eat protein. Amino acids flow in, new muscle tissue is produced, and you maintain or even gain strength easily. But after 60, those gates do not open as readily. The same meal that once triggered strong muscle growth now produces only a weak signal. Here is what is happening at the cellular level. Muscle tissue is constantly cycling between 2 states: protein synthesis, where new muscle fibers are built, and protein breakdown, where old or damaged proteins are cleared away. In youth, these 2 processes are balanced, but with age, the rate of synthesis slows down while breakdown accelerates. The result is a gradual net loss of muscle over time, a process that underlies frailty, weakness, and mobility decline. Several mechanisms drive this resistance. One is impaired amino acid sensing within the muscle cell. The key player here is a molecular switch called mTOR, short for mechanistic target of rapamycin. Think of mTOR as the ignition that starts muscle growth. When you consume high-quality protein, mTOR is supposed to switch on, signaling your muscle to start building. But with age, that signal weakens. The mTOR pathway becomes less responsive to the same input. Another factor is reduced blood flow to muscle tissue. With aging, blood vessels become stiffer, reducing nutrient delivery to muscle cells. Even if you consume enough protein, fewer amino acids actually reach the muscle to trigger synthesis. There is also low-grade inflammation that interferes with insulin signaling. Insulin helps shuttle amino acids into muscle cells, But when chronic inflammation or insulin resistance is present, this transport system becomes sluggish, further reducing muscle repair. So how do we overcome anabolic resistance? The answer is timing, quality, and nutrient synergy. Research from the University of Texas and McMaster University has shown that older adults can almost fully restore their anabolic response by consuming around 30 to 40 grams of high-quality protein in one meal, especially at breakfast, a meal where protein intake is usually the lowest. That breakfast should emphasize leucine-rich proteins such as eggs, Greek yogurt, whey protein isolate, or soy protein. Leucine acts as a key signal to mTOR, telling the body it is time to build. Pairing that protein with omega-3 fats from salmon, chia seeds, or walnuts amplifies the effect by improving cell membrane sensitivity to these signals. If this breakdown is resonating with you so far, go ahead and press subscribe. It helps more people discover this kind of science-backed health content and supports the channel's mission to spread real longevity science. Now that we understand why muscles become resistant to protein as we age, in the next section, we will take a closer look at the leucine threshold effect, the exact trigger that determines whether your breakfast fuels strength or simply passes through unused. When it comes to rebuilding muscle after 60, it is not just about eating more protein, it is about eating enough of the right amino acids to flip your body's anabolic switch. And among all amino acids, one stands out as the key leucine. Leucine is one of the 3 branched-chain amino acids, along with isoleucine and valine. But leucine is unique because it directly activates the mTOR pathway, the same molecular switch we discussed earlier that drives muscle protein synthesis. Think of leucine as the ignition key that starts your muscle-building engine. Here is where things get fascinating. Your muscles do not respond to protein intake in a simple, linear way. They respond in a threshold pattern. Below a certain level of leucine intake, nothing much happens, your muscle protein synthesis remains flat. But once you hit a critical amount, that curve suddenly spikes upward. This is known as the leucine threshold. For most adults, the leucine threshold is around 2.5 to 3 grams per meal. That is roughly the amount found in about 30 grams of high-quality animal protein, such as 3 large eggs plus a cup of Greek yogurt, or 1 scoop of whey protein isolate. However, many older adults fall short of this mark, especially at breakfast, when typical meals might include only cereal, toast, or oatmeal foods that provide very little leucine. Here is what the research shows. In a study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, older adults who consumed a breakfast containing at least 3 grams of leucine showed a 60% higher rate of muscle protein synthesis compared to those who ate a lower leucine breakfast, even when total protein amounts were similar. That means it is not just the total protein, but how much leucine you deliver in that first meal that determines whether your muscles are growing or shrinking that day. At the cellular level, leucine acts like a foreman giving orders on the construction site. Once it binds to sensors in the muscle cell, mTOR activates, ribosomes start assembling new proteins, and damaged fibers begin repairing themselves. Without enough leucine, the workers are ready, the materials are there, but the signal to start never arrives. So what does this look like in practice? A powerful breakfast for someone over 60 might include 3 eggs cooked in olive oil, a serving of Greek yogurt topped with chia seeds and blueberries, and perhaps a scoop of whey protein blended into a smoothie with spinach and almond milk. This combination easily crosses the leucine threshold while delivering additional micronutrients and antioxidants that support recovery and reduce inflammation. For plant-based eaters, this threshold can still be reached with thoughtful combinations, for example, tofu with quinoa, soy milk, and a small serving of pea protein powder. The key is ensuring that the total leucine content reaches that 2.5 to 3 gram mark. If you are enjoying this breakdown so far, consider subscribing. I post weekly deep dives into longevity science, nutrition, and the cellular mechanisms that drive aging and how to reverse them naturally. In the next section, we are going to connect the dots between amino acids and mitochondria. Because once you have turned on muscle synthesis, the next challenge is powering that process efficiently. And that is where omega-3 fatty acids become the silent architects of strength and recovery. When most people think about omega-3 fatty acids, they think about brain health or cardiovascular support. But recent research has revealed something even more profound. Omega-3s are also muscle sensitizers. They make your muscle cells more responsive to the very amino acids that stimulate growth, especially leucine. Here is what is happening at the cellular level. Each muscle cell is surrounded by a membrane, a thin, flexible layer made largely of fats. The quality of those fats determines how well signals pass into the cell. Diets rich in saturated or processed fats make these membranes rigid, which slows communication. But omega-3 fatty acids, especially eicosapentaenoic acid, EPA, and docosahexaenoic acid, DHA, integrate into these membranes, increasing their fluidity and allowing amino acid and insulin signals to be transmitted more efficiently. This has a powerful downstream effect. When older adults consume omega-3 rich foods or supplements consistently, their muscle cells become more sensitive to mTOR activation. This means that the same amount of protein now triggers a stronger anabolic response. A landmark study from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition demonstrated this clearly. Participants over 65 who consumed 4 grams of omega-3 fatty acids daily for 8 weeks increased their muscle protein synthesis rate by nearly 30%, even without changing their exercise routine. That is remarkable. Omega-3s were literally reprogramming the cellular machinery of aging muscle. But the story goes even deeper. Inside those same muscle cells are mitochondria, the small power generators that produce adenosine triphosphate, or ATP. Aging mitochondria tend to produce less energy and more oxidative stress, which accelerates muscle fatigue. Omega-3s enhance mitochondrial biogenesis, the creation of new, healthy mitochondria. They also improve the efficiency of the electron transport chain, meaning you get more energy from every molecule of glucose or fat you consume. Think of it like upgrading your muscle engines from old, sputtering motors to brand new, high-performance ones. That increased energy output directly translates to stronger muscle contractions and faster recovery, especially in large muscle groups such as the quadriceps and hamstrings, the muscles most vital for leg strength and balance. So how do we apply this practically? Start with whole food omega-3 sources. Wild salmon, sardines, mackerel, chia seeds, flax seeds, and walnuts are excellent. For those who prefer supplementation, look for a product that provides at least 1,000 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA per day, ideally taken with your first protein-rich meal to enhance absorption. Pairing omega-3s with a leucine-rich breakfast like scrambled eggs with smoked salmon and avocado, or Greek yogurt with chia and flax seeds, creates a synergistic effect. You are giving your muscles both the signal to grow and the cellular environment to make that growth efficient. If you are finding this helpful, tap the subscribe button and share your thoughts in the comments. In the next section, we will explore another overlooked powerhouse for muscle health, vitamin D, and how it acts not only as a bone-strengthening nutrient, but also as a molecular switch that enhances muscle activation, coordination, and even leg strength within days. Vitamin D is one of the most underestimated nutrients when it comes to muscle performance. Most people associate it with bone health or immunity, but very few realize that vitamin D acts like a molecular power switch for muscle fibers, and as we age, that switch begins to dim unless we actively turn it back on. Let me explain. Vitamin D is not merely a vitamin. It functions more like a hormone. Once activated by the liver and kidneys, it binds to vitamin D receptors present in nearly every tissue in the body, including muscle cells. When it attaches to these receptors, it turns on genes involved in muscle contraction, energy metabolism, and calcium handling, all of which are vital for strength, coordination, and balance. Here is what is happening at the cellular level. Inside your muscles, calcium is the signal that makes contraction possible. Every time you move, whether it is standing up from a chair or climbing stairs, calcium floods into muscle fibers, triggering them to shorten and produce force. Without sufficient vitamin D, those calcium channels become sluggish. The signal weakens, contractions lose power, and coordination suffers. This is why low vitamin D levels are strongly linked with poor balance, slower walking speed, and higher risk of falls in older adults. A study published in the Journal of Endocrinology and Metabolism found that adults over 65 who corrected their vitamin D deficiency not only improved bone density, but also increased leg strength by more than 20% within 12 weeks. That improvement came without any change in exercise, purely from optimizing vitamin D levels. But there is another more subtle mechanism. Vitamin D also reduces inflammation within muscle tissue. Chronic low-grade inflammation, often referred to as inflammaging, can interfere with muscle repair and mitochondrial function. By calming this internal fire, vitamin D helps restore the normal signaling that tells muscles to rebuild after stress or exertion. So how do we ensure optimal vitamin D activation, especially through the lens of breakfast and morning routines? The first step is sunlight exposure. Just 15 to 20 minutes of morning sun on your skin can trigger natural vitamin D synthesis. This not only boosts vitamin D, but also helps synchronize your circadian rhythm, improving sleep and recovery later in the day. Nutritionally, pairing your breakfast with vitamin D-rich foods such as pasture-raised eggs, salmon, sardines, or fortified yogurt is highly effective. Because vitamin D is fat-soluble, consuming it with healthy fats like olive oil or avocado enhances absorption. For those with limited sunlight exposure or confirmed deficiency, supplementation can be valuable. Most research supports a daily intake of around 2,000 international units, though testing blood levels is the only way to personalize this precisely. Before we move on, a quick reminder: if you are enjoying this, press that subscribe button, like, comment. It really supports the channel and helps spread these tools to more people striving for better longevity and muscle health. Here is a concept that most people never consider when it comes to muscle health time. Not training time, but biological time. Every cell in your body operates on a circadian rhythm, an internal 24-hour clock that coordinates hormones, metabolism, and repair. And yes, that includes your muscle cells. Muscles are not static tissue. They follow their own circadian rhythm, responding differently to nutrients, exercise, and hormones depending on the time of day. When you eat your first meal, you are not just giving your body calories. You are sending a signal that synchronizes these cellular clocks. That is why what and when you eat your breakfast can determine how efficiently your muscles rebuild and strengthen throughout the day. Here is what is happening at the cellular level. Your muscles repair machinery. The ribosomes, mitochondria, and enzymes that rebuild damaged fibers are most active during the daylight hours. In the morning, cortisol and insulin sensitivity are naturally higher, which means your body can more efficiently shuttle amino acids and glucose into muscle tissue. This creates the perfect environment for muscle protein synthesis, provided you give the right fuel at the right time. However, many people skip breakfast or delay protein intake until late afternoon. By doing so, they miss that crucial anabolic window. When older adults fast too long in the morning, the muscle breakdown process continues unchecked, leading to further loss of lean tissue. A fascinating study from the Journal of Physiology found that adults who consumed a high-protein meal within 2 hours of waking maintained stronger circadian alignment and demonstrated higher muscle protein synthesis rates compared to those who ate the same meal later in the day. The conclusion was clear: protein timing matters as much as protein quality. So, what does this mean for someone over 60? It means that your breakfast should be viewed as your first anabolic event of the day. When you provide the right nutrients, early leucine-rich protein, omega-3 fats, vitamin D, and antioxidants, you are telling your muscle clock, it is time to build, not break down. Think of your body as an orchestra. The circadian rhythm is the conductor, setting the tempo. Each nutrient you consume is an instrument playing in sync. When you eat at the right time, the performance is harmonious, energy levels rise, recovery improves, and strength gains accelerate. But when your meal timing is erratic, the orchestra falls out of rhythm, leading to fatigue, weakness, and slower muscle repair. A practical takeaway is to consume your protein-rich breakfast within 1 hour of waking. This could be as simple as a whey protein smoothie with spinach, berries, and flax seeds, or a warm meal like scrambled eggs with smoked salmon and sautéed greens. Follow that with light movement, such as a short walk, which further amplifies the anabolic response by improving nutrient uptake into muscle cells. If you are enjoying this breakdown so far, make sure to subscribe. Every week, I share deep dives into nutrition, longevity, and the hidden biology that helps you stay strong and energized as you age. We have explored how protein, leucine, omega-3 fats, vitamin D, and meal timing all shape muscle growth after 60. But there is one underlying factor that can silently sabotage all of that progress: inflammation. Chronic, low-grade inflammation, often called inflammaging, is now recognized as one of the primary drivers of sarcopenia. Here is what is happening at the cellular level. When inflammation is persistent, immune molecules called cytokines begin to interfere with anabolic signaling. They suppress mTOR activity, reduce amino acid uptake, and promote muscle breakdown through pathways like NF-κB. Essentially, inflammation keeps your body in a catabolic or muscle-wasting state. The mitochondria, your muscle's energy factories, also take a hit. They begin to produce more reactive oxygen species, which damage their own membranes and DNA. The result is slower energy output, reduced endurance, and weaker contractions. But here's the encouraging part. Your breakfast can be either inflammatory or anti-inflammatory, and that choice starts every single morning. Let me break this down with a simple example. A breakfast high in refined carbohydrates, processed meats, and seed oils spikes blood sugar, increases oxidative stress, and triggers inflammation that lingers for hours. In contrast, a breakfast rich in polyphenols, antioxidants, and healthy fats sends the opposite signal. It reduces cytokine activity, protects mitochondria, and restores insulin sensitivity. In one study from the Journal of Nutrition and Healthy Aging, older adults who consumed polyphenol-rich foods including berries, extra virgin olive oil, and green tea every morning for just 2 weeks showed lower inflammatory markers and significantly improved leg strength scores. That is because polyphenols interact directly with inflammatory pathways, turning down the volume on chronic immune activation. A practical anti-inflammatory breakfast could include a base of high-quality protein such as eggs or Greek yogurt combined with berries for polyphenols, walnuts or flax seeds for omega-3s, and a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil for monounsaturated fats. Adding green tea or matcha in the morning provides catechins, which further reduce oxidative stress and support mitochondrial function. For those following a plant-forward diet, a powerful option could be a tofu scramble with spinach, turmeric, and olive oil, served alongside green tea and berries. Turmeric's active compound, curcumin, is particularly potent at reducing NF-κB activation, one of the main inflammatory pathways that drive muscle loss. Remember, inflammation is not the enemy. It is the chronic, unresolved kind that becomes destructive. Acute inflammation from exercise, for example, is necessary for adaptation. The goal is to maintain a balance, stimulating repair when needed but preventing the constant background noise of cellular stress that accelerates aging. When you combine this anti-inflammatory strategy with proper protein timing, leucine intake, omega-3 fats, and vitamin D optimization, you create a metabolic environment that is deeply anabolic and protective. Before we move into our final summary, if this information has been valuable to you, take a moment to press the hype button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe. It helps us continue spreading real, evidence-based longevity science that empowers people to take control of their biology. In the conclusion, we are going to bring everything together: the science, the strategy, and the daily routine, so you walk away with a clear, actionable blueprint for building strength, stability, and confidence at any age. We began this journey with a simple question: could one breakfast really change your strength and vitality within 24 hours? And as you have seen, the science says yes. Because after 60, the rules of metabolism change. Muscle no longer responds automatically to food the way it did in youth. You have to send a stronger, smarter signal, one that tells your body to build, not break down. That signal comes from a breakfast designed with intention. When you combine high-quality, leucine-rich protein with omega-3 fats, vitamin D, and anti-inflammatory compounds, you are doing far more than eating a meal. You are giving your muscle cells a biochemical message: you still matter, stay strong, keep building. Here is what that looks like in practical terms. Start your morning with at least 30 grams of complete protein, enough to reach that 2.5 to 3 gram leucine threshold. Add omega-3 sources such as salmon, chia, or walnuts to enhance muscle sensitivity. Include vitamin D-rich foods or get sunlight exposure to activate calcium and energy metabolism within your muscle fibers. Round it out with anti-inflammatory ingredients: berries, green tea, olive oil, and turmeric to keep your mitochondria efficient and your recovery smooth. This combination, repeated consistently, sends a clear, daily anabolic signal. Within 24 hours, you can measure changes in muscle protein synthesis. Within weeks, strength and endurance improve. And within months, this becomes your new metabolic rhythm, one that resists sarcopenia, supports mobility, and extends your health span. So here is my challenge to you. Tomorrow morning, build your breakfast with intention. Do not skip it. Do not make it an afterthought. See it as your daily dose of longevity medicine, one that fuels not just your muscles, but your confidence, independence, and joy in movement. And if this message resonated with you, if you learned something new about how your body works and how you can make it stronger, press that hype button, like the video, and subscribe. Join the growing community of people who are not just living longer, but living better, powered by science, guided by purpose, and grounded in daily action. Because the next chapter of strength and vitality begins not in the gym, but at your breakfast table.